part of the odd community is that we are collaboration over competition, right? So let's all embody that a little more and remember that the person who's being treated as a cog is still a person.
Welcome to We Built This Brand, the podcast where we talk to the creators and collaborators behind brands and provide you with practical insights that you can use in growing your own business. Today, we're talking with Erin Reece, the founder at Bear Financial Solutions. Her company is a cloud-based, outsourced accounting firm with a focus on the business owner as well as the business. As you'll see in this interview, Erin really does think about the business owner first. We talk a lot about how she got the business started and how her brand came to be. We also do a deep dive into the challenges with financial anxiety and where having someone like Bear Financial Solutions can be a huge help to entrepreneurs. Also, just before we dive in, just a quick reminder to go ahead and hit that follow button on your podcast player or subscribe on YouTube to make sure you're kept up to date on the latest episodes. So, without further ado, here's my conversation with Erin Reece of Bear Financial Services. Well, welcome everybody. Erin, it is a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, here today to talk to you about your company, Bear Financial Solutions.
Yep.
And really just excited to learn more about what you do, what you provide, and honestly, I'm really curious about the branding, the motif, the design, everything that you've done there. So let's just dive into it. Tell me where you got your start.
Yeah, back in 2019, I was just saying before we started recording that this is, as we're recording this, it's May in 2024. So we are celebrating 5 years in business this year. Woohoo. So in May of 2019, I was sitting at my kitchen table panicking about going to work on Monday. I had sort of surpassed the Sunday scaries to I was physically ill, getting ready to go to work on Mondays. And I worked from home, so it's silly even saying it, but my work environment was just so unhealthy. And I was like, I have to do something different. So I sat at my kitchen table, my husband and I, and we formed an LLC, and here we are today. And so it really was born out of necessity, but I saw an opportunity to build something that was healthier for myself and for my clients.
Yeah, I can understand. I mean, part of how I got into entrepreneurship was working for other people and being like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
This is making me sick. It's making me tired. It's stressing me out.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's good that you recognize that and were able to take that next step.
Yeah, and my daughter at the time was young, and we didn't even have the twins, but it was like I knew I was missing out on so much with her. And like I said, even though I was working from home, I was still working 60 plus hours a week. It just was, it was a lot. And I knew it was not sustainable.
Yeah. And you were an accountant at the time, is that right?
Right. In the industry of accounting, there's some understanding that your rite of passage comes from paying your dues in the early years of accounting. So you will work. You know, if you work in public accounting, you will work 70, 80 hours a week in busy season. Not only will you work those long hours, but that is just the minimum, like that is the expectation. There is no discussion about work-life balance, period, for young accountants. Yeah. And in the industry, in the accounting industry in particular, there's a lot of discussions now where we are seeing, as an industry, we're hurting incoming accountants. We are harming the current CPAs and accountants that we have in industry. We've really got to do better. So I'm grateful to be part of that part of the story, that we're creating environments where we can do work that we love, because accountants oftentimes are very passionate about their work, but it's not killing us in the process.
Yeah, one of my early internships in college, even though I was a marketing major, was at an accounting firm. Yeah. And I was helping with their marketing department and things. And I remember it being like hazing almost what the new people went through. And I was like, well, I don't think I want to be an accountant. I'm glad I chose marketing.
It's not an attractive field for sure, particularly not for women. So.
Yeah. What really got me interested in accounting, just from a business side, though, was taking some financial reporting classes and stuff. And I realized, this is what accounting does. Yeah. This is where it's fun.
Yeah.
So
And
there are some cool things.
You know, there's like, people are like, the bookkeeping, that's like not the sexiest part of accounting. I want to read my P&L. I want to read my balance sheet. Well, okay, but you have to do some of these other things to produce those like charts and graphs and things we'd love to look at. There's some foundational work we have to do to get there. So, but that is, for me, that's the fun part. I like to produce the statements.
Yeah, yeah. It's fun to be able to look at and to have deeper understanding of your business at the same time.
Yeah,
So.
and it's one of those things. I think it's a learned practice, right? So you don't love it at first. In fact, in the beginning, a lot of people hate it.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't want to look at my statements every month. But you learn and you get better, and it starts to be something you enjoy.
Even to this day, I still have anxiety sometimes looking at the bank account and going through my finances because it's nerve-wracking.
Yeah,
it's like,
it is.
well, do I have what I need in there? You know you do intellectually, but there's just always that fear.
Yeah.
Something's gone wrong. You hadn't expected something.
Yeah.
So yeah, learning to make it more of a habit to be better financial stuff is something I'm on a personal quest for, just outside of even this conversation.
Yeah,
But,
yeah. Always. We're always in progress.
yeah, absolutely we are. So Bear Financial Services. So you started the business, you created the LLC. I assume Bear Financial Services, was that the name when you started the company?
So originally, the company was called Bear Accounting and Financial Solutions.
Okay.
In 2022, I dropped accounting from the name for a couple reasons, but I knew I was going to move out of tax practice. And when people hear accountant, they think, oh, that person could do my taxes. And that coupled with just our other offerings, we just do so much. And I felt like accounting was really siloing us. And again, associating it with the accounting industry as a whole hurt the brand because because we see it that way. It was hard for me to hire. I couldn't find good talent because I was like, I don't want them to think they're coming into a hard public accounting environment.
Right.
So I dropped accounting from the name, but Bear. So when my husband and I started working on the name, I sat down to form the LLC and I was like, what should we call it? And my husband and I, before we were married, our initials were EBAR. When we moved and had all of our boxes and things, we had multiple things in the house that were coming to our new house and some of the things that were going to stay. So everything that was ours said Bear on it because those were, our initials at the time. That's kind of where the name started from. And then, it just became, especially because I'm a mom, I have 3 girls. And so I kind of have taken on this very mama bear persona as a business owner. And it's just really stuck. And I love it. I mean, obviously I can't look into the future, but I can't imagine that I would ever change it. It's really become part of how we show up. And of course, this is kind of how people how they recognize us now.
Yeah. Well, what I like about it is it's not just it's very personal, which I like. I like that there's that very personal touch to it. But it's also like, it's East Tennessee without being East Tennessee.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, and that is the other thing too, is that yes, of course, like the black bear, right? Like we're in Tennessee, we love the Smoky Mountains. And then the other thing was, accounting firms, legal firms, typically you see the owner's last names. Every accounting firm, every legal firm you know of, it's the partner's last names. And I knew I was not doing that. I was not going to put my last name on it because again, moving away from that traditional model. But you're right. It is very East Tennessee without being East Tennessee, but it is very personal and does incorporate our family's name. So I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, so the design itself for the logo and the branding, like I'm also a big fan of that. And I just want to know how that came to be because when I see the logo, it's for those who haven't seen it yet, although if you're listening or watching, you've probably seen some graphics. It is a bear.
Yep.
It's a cute bear with glasses on that look exactly like yours.
Yes. Yeah. Originally, so when we started and I had to have a logo right away, I bought one on Fiverr. I just got I'll have to show it to you so you can show it. But I'll be sharing it a lot now as I talk about our journey to 5 years. But it was just simple, very basic. It had a bear outline and it said bear on it, but it was not. And so probably, I guess it was 2 years in, I started thinking I really want to decide what the branding is going to look like. And the original branding was pretty masculine, very straight lines, very dark colors. And I was like, I'm not really sure if I like this. I actually sat down with Victory at the social brand.
Yep.
And I kind of told her, I didn't even have an idea. I had no idea what I wanted it to look like. I just thought maybe I wanted more. I wanted it to be a little more feminine. And she came back to me originally with some amazing, she just really envisioned this hand-drawn, illustrated kind of bear persona. And it was so cute. So the first one the first kind of iteration that she sent me, we sort of modeled it after the Charmin bear, from the toilet paper, the mom bear.
Right,
because the first bear kind of image that she and I worked on together was really round in the face and it almost did have a masculine. So I sent her a picture of the mom Charmin bear and I was like, let's pull her face in, give her this more feminine look. So, we spent some time and she had, she just did a great job capturing the sort of whimsical idea that I had for this that was like, I want people to take it seriously, but I want it to have this kind of feminine flair. And it obviously, like, it just says home run. It's perfect. Something I can't imagine I would ever change. Yeah.
Well, that's really cool. So you mentioned being your 5th year.
Yes.
So what lessons have you learned along the way? I mean, we built this brand for a reason.
Yeah. So from a branding perspective, I've learned a tremendous amount, things like your font, like I just don't know that I ever thought this font is really going to matter. And it really does. And as a consumer of content, I recognize, like, when I see certain fonts, I can absolutely associate that font with a certain brand. So things like that, as we kind of went along and we developed the current branding that we have with the flourishes and the right fonts and things, it was like all of a sudden it started to come together that people could associate us with these colors, with these fonts, things I just never really thought about because I'm an accountant, right? I'm not a marketer.
Right.
And so I learned how to have more sticky associative branding that that was just not anything I knew anything about. And I had somewhere along the journey, I had to make a change. We had, in the beginning days, I was really in an effort to protect my business. And we talked about this just briefly, but early on when I started my business, I got sued.
Oh.
And that was the least fun thing I've ever done. But in the beginning, because that was happening, I really felt like I needed to lay low. I was trying to just, like, get through it. I was very hesitant to even have any type of branding because I didn't even want to be associated with. Like, I was just trying to figure out my way through that. And that took 3 years. And so,
Golly.
It was like for a long time, I just was like, I don't even want to learn anything about branding. I just need to insulate this. But as I sort of got past the fear of that and moved through it and did the things, it started to be something where I would go to the Women in Entrepreneurship networking group and I wouldn't necessarily know everyone there, but they would see my cup or my name badge and they'd be like, oh, that's that there girl, like they started to, and I thought, okay, well, maybe this is like working, this is kind of making sense how the branding incorporates the whole thing. And of course, we have been in business for 5 years. So, like, ask me the lessons I've learned. I could talk for days of all the lessons I have learned about how to be in business and how to stay in business for 5 years. There's definitely some learning curves at every level, at every step, I would say.
Yeah. What would you say are some of those top things you've learned in the last 5 years about your business?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing is, I would say I always wanted to start my organization and run my organization as a people-first organization. So whether that's client-facing or internal with my employees, like, that's just what I am about. And even as a practitioner, when I'm working with someone, I really, really, I want to see them as a whole person and their business as an extension of them. In the beginning, it was like I had come from a corporate environment. So I would say my beginning stages, I ran it like that. Even though I wanted to do differently, that's what I knew. But I learned how to slow down. I learned how to do it better. Our tagline in business is that we help businesses build healthy financial foundations. So if I really have over multiple iterations of the business, kind of taken it down to the foundation. Where are we at today and how do we build it better? And I think that's something we as entrepreneurs do a lot. We have to look at the whole picture. We have to look at the foundation and the pieces. Is it where we want it? So I learned how to definitely do that over and over, a constant reiteration. And I think when I think about year 1 versus year 5, I think if you had asked me in year 1, where will you be at year 5? I obviously could, like, not here. I would not say this is where I was at. I would have thought, maybe because of just like the online world or whatever, but I would have thought by year 5, I would have like 50 employees and I was running a multi-million-dollar business. And I think I had this idea that I was just going to, like, kick it off and go and it was going to be so successful. And it's not that that's not the case, but it's not like that. It's not how it looks when we look at someone's highlight reel of their business. And I of course serve clients who are entrepreneurs. So the more that I learned about other businesses as well as my own, I was like, yeah, this is not it. I'm looking at these things online and I'm either one, these people are lying or they're just super lucky, but the people that I actually work with on a day-to-day basis who are building their businesses are in the trenches, learning the financial statements, learning how to do it better, do it healthy. And it's a process. Everything is a process. It's not just like all of a sudden you're good at it. And so I learned how to always be in progress.
Yes, and I think that's a very important skill to learn, is to be like, whatever I decide today doesn't mean it's going to be where I'm going to be in 5 years.
Right. And I think, yes, you're right. You could set goals for yourself. Say in January, you set your goals for the year, and you get to December and you're like, I'm nowhere near I thought I would be in January. But in reality, it's just going with the flow of the thing.
Right.
Let it be what it is and help it. The business has its own kind of persona. We help it along.
Personally, in my business, I follow like the True North model. So I have this, I want this in 30 years for my business. How am I going to get there within the next year? And when it doesn't work, I go back and say, what didn't work? And how can I improve? So very true.
The True North, or, a lot of people will say, are you rooted in your why statement? What is the purpose? What was the reason you came to this? For me, it comes a lot from parental freedom, right? So I have 3 children who are young, and I don't want to miss that. I don't want to miss them being young. And this is the constant struggle. Are you a working parent? Are you a stay-at-home parent? Are you one or the other? Can you not be both? My gosh. This is 2024. But it's like, okay, yes, I have my true north. I have my why that I'm always pointing to. Well, I've gotten to this stage of my business, and I don't know that this iteration of the business is pointing back to my why. So then I go back to the drawing board, see where changes need to be made, and recenter on that why, or the true north. I'm heading in the direction I want to go on a macro level. Even though along the way, of course, there's just movements.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some things you can't control, like a global pandemic that comes
along
right after you start your business.
Right. I mean, 2020 was wild, right? And for us, it was really, that was a thriving year for us because, of course, we were helping with PPP. Some things that the SBA and the IRS were doing needed interpretation. They needed content put out so people could understand. And we were all not understanding either. It's just like constantly try. So it's just it's always in progress. We are, and our businesses are always in progress and learning.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you mentioned getting sued.
Yeah.
And I think you wanted to talk about that, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it is what it is. And obviously I'm very grateful today as we're recording this. We have just recently, the U.S. has banned non-compete agreements in the United States for non-executive level people. And I'm so here for that, right? Like, let's not prevent people from doing the thing that they're good at or that they thrive in or whatever. Let's not tell them they can't do it just because we want to hoard them for ourselves. So it really, especially, in accounting, it's like this, and there are other industries, tech is a big one too, that's like this, where the people who do the functions of the, I would even consider them like cogs in the wheel, they're treated like cogs. Not only are they disposable, but also you can't do anything else. Like we want the right to throw you away, but we don't want you to be able to make that choice on your own. No, thank you. No, let's not keep people from doing the thing that they're good at. And let's not tell them that they can't thrive in their environment, whatever that means. And of course, as we're recording this at the OTT location, part of the OTT community is that we are collaboration over competition, right? So let's all embody that a little more and remember that the person who's being treated as a cog is still a person. Even if you're in a service-based business where that is what brings your product to market, they're still humans. They're still people. And that just is, I'm grateful that the U.S. has decided that, and that, businesses moving forward are going to have to coalesce.
Yeah. I mean, it'll definitely make a shift, I think, for some businesses that have kept people for too long in tough environments that want to get out there and do other things.
Well, and it's going to hopefully eliminate some of the fear that those employees have of like, okay, well, if I go and try to do something else, even if they want to do even if they don't want to go out on their own as an entrepreneur, if they want to go work somewhere else, are they going to risk the pursuit of that employer? Are they going to risk their livelihood just to get out of a situation that's not good for them? Good job. We're coming into the right era, getting rid of that.
Yeah. I'm sure the being sued part of it for you was probably a big challenge, like you mentioned, like the challenge of getting over that hurdle of like, oh gosh, I don't even know what I can do, what I can't say, where I'm in trouble and all that stuff.
Yeah, so. and it is what it is. It was lengthy and expensive. I essentially took on a massive expenditure for the business in the first 3 years that I wasn't planning on. All of that is just like part of the challenge. But I will say, as I sit here today, like I'm not grateful for the experience, but it has taught me some things, and it actually has allowed me to serve my clients better. Having been through that, I think I have just a deeper empathy for some of the struggles that we go through.
Yeah, because there are entrepreneurs out there that may decide to leave and be caught in some messy, like gray area situation, even though these non-compete things are happening.
Right.
You still don't know how all that's going to shake out at a state level.
Right.
And so there could be all kinds of interesting things with it still to play. So yeah, it's good that you've had the experience for better or worse.
And maybe eventually I'll be grateful for it. That day is not today.
Understood. So you mentioned that was the first 3 years of your business. There was a lot going on at that time as well. You were growing. When was that moment of like validation in the business where you were like, yes, this is a real thing. It's not just something I'm doing until I find another job?
I'm really glad that you asked that. I'm going to share an example, and the person I'm going to talk about, she knows I'm going to share this story, but I had a client who had a tax emergency. The first time I ever spoke to this person was like on April 14th. She was panicking. She needed her taxes done, like the next day. It was a thing, and a mutual connection of ours gave her my phone number. She called me, and I remember talking to her like while I was doing laundry and stuff. I was like, okay, we'll get this figured out. We'll get it figured out tomorrow. And I had an opportunity within that same week to sit down with her and talk. And she sat down across from me and she said, I overdrafted my bank account today, and I've never told anyone that before. And she, of course, started to cry as she was sitting with me. And I think in that moment, I was like, okay, this is like what I was born to do, to allow this space for this person to have this very normal human feeling that's going on, particularly around finances, and give them an opportunity to work through it and like thrive. So I think for me, that seems like that's the story. But it was, I think, I always knew from a very young age I wanted to be an accountant, which is a silly thing to say too, but I always knew I was going to work in finance, always. And I never wavered from that. Like I was like, this is what I'm doing. I did a budget project in the 7th grade, and that was it for me. My teacher was like, I think you would like to be an accountant. And I was like, great, that's what I'm going to do. And here we are today. So having all of that, knowing my whole young adult life, my adult life, like I'm going to be an accountant, this is what I'm doing, and never really wavering from that, and knowing that I was so passionate about that side. That's a very left brain thing. Numbers, black and white, very, very like factual things I get to deal with on a regular basis. All the spreadsheets, stuff I really thrive in. But I found as I started working with more clients, like there was also this really human piece of all of that. There is this finance, there is this black and white, very emotionless part. Alongside of that is the human being who has to create that. Yeah. And so I found in my business growth, once that happened, I was like, okay, maybe this is like my thing. Maybe I can help people with not only their spreadsheets and their finance, but maybe I can help them emotionally be healthy with this too. Yeah. That's where we are today. That led me down the path that I am on, which is to financial therapy. So this is an offering. We're just offering for the first time this year in 2024, officially. I think unofficially I've been offering financial therapy for a long time, but officially I am working on the certification to become a certified financial therapist that specializes. It's a thing. Absolutely. Okay. It's a thing. And it has a title, like it's a thing. Mm-hmm. Wow. I'm working on that credential, but it really is people who are like, oh, I don't have financial abuse and trauma. You probably do. Even if it's not, it's almost like everyone everywhere has trauma of some kind. There's not like anyone who's exempt from it because that's the human condition. Financially, we do, and especially entrepreneurs, right? Like we live and breathe by it because we have to make it work. And you're often running parallels. Your life and your business finances are both happening. And so how we bring that onto one platform and do it well and do it healthy is like, this is my thing. So I think that moment was a real turning point for me when I realized I probably could bring both of these things together. I think I knew, even when I was in public accounting, I was like, something is just missing here. This is just not whole. Mm-hmm. And so as that happened, and of course, I've had this is something I say all the time in all of my content, but I'm always so, so grateful when someone sits down with me and says something like that, or trusts me with that kind of information of, I'm not sure what to do now, but here's how I feel. And so it's been such a pleasure, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to have those moments with other entrepreneurs who just they just want to do it better, but they don't know how. And the first step is just, I just got to say something out loud. So I love to serve as that place for them. And I think that's when it started to really click for me that like, there's not only a need for this, but this is like something I can bring into the market really well.
Yeah. To me, that makes a lot of sense because I feel like a lot of times the people I run my mouth to the most are my bookkeepers.
Yeah.
They're like, what's the story behind this purchase? Why did you do this? And I feel like I have to give an explanation for it.
Yep.
And obviously, when things are tight, there's the conversation around, hey, can you help me? Like,
yeah.
Make sure I got enough money for this or that. And it's all, I have so many thoughts going through my head because even down to like the core level of financial management of like, one of the number one reasons for divorce in America is money. Yeah. So we all have a very interesting relationship with money that I don't think we address quite often.
Yeah.
So
yes, it is. Yes, whether you think you do or you don't, you have a relationship with money that is healthy or unhealthy. And you might not even know that it's unhealthy. Sometimes it shows up in behaviors like compulsive spending and you're like, oh, well, I have money, so I'm not compulsive spending. You are. It's just that you have money, so you think it's not a big deal. But in reality, there's still some probably underlying thing here with the spending. In business, it shows up all kinds of ways. But if someone is anxious about sitting down with their P&L once a month. In the beginning, it's a very, we just have to take one step at a time. You and I are just going to sit down for 30 minutes and we're just going to talk about this. We're going to address what comes up, but this is important. We have to be able to move past this step to get to the next step. I think it's just accepting it for what it is and saying, okay, I'm going to address my relationship with money because my business can't survive if I don't. And, you mentioned marriages, falling apart because of money, but businesses, same thing. Many, more than half of businesses will fail in their first 5 years. And a big problem is finances.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone gets greedy. Someone makes a mistake, overspends, all kinds of things.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep. There's definitely some issues. And it's like a very special type of relationship, right? So you have your business finance relationship, you have your personal financial relationship, and they're not always the same. Learning how to, again, bring it whole, make it whole, and let it be, instead of siloing it off as this thing you have to do, let it be part of the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it speaks to you as a business. I think it's really cool because it brings that side of it that's not just the calculated mathematical side. It's also the mama bear.
Yeah.
In a way, you're protecting your clients.
Yeah.
You're that maternal aspect of I'm just trying to look out for you and take care of you too.
Yeah, yeah.
That I think is really cool.
Me as a person and my staff, this is something we really, as part of our culture. So we didn't talk about this before in the lessons, but when I started my business, I had my core values and we were going to be intentional, kind, excellent, and authentic. It spells IKEA. In case any of you are into that kind of thing. I was really proud of it when I put it all together. But then in 2023, I actually changed intentional to purposeful. I found that intention wasn't it. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to approach this client meeting with intention. Nope, it's got to be with purpose. This is not just a plan and what we're doing, but what you were made to do. We show up in our client engagements like we were made to do it. Like my clients, I am an over-helper. I really care so deeply about what they're doing and what they're bringing to the world. And I just can't, that's just what I am as a person. And so I love that my brand has sort of embodied that as well, that this is just how we show up in this part of the market, that it's not just bookkeeping for us, right? It's not just these numbers or this, it is all.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's a really neat business model too. I like what you're going for, and the more I'm learning about it here today, this is really neat.
Yeah.
Great. Well, Erin, as always, at the end of a conversation, I love to ask this question. What is the brand that you're crushing on right now?
Yeah, so I'm really loving Stitch Fix right now. I got this blazer there and all of my blazers, and they're so soft, and they come in all the right colors, and I've just been really vibing with Stitch Fix lately. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's obviously a clothing company.
Yeah.
I feel like I've heard the name.
Yeah, I think it's funny they call it a fix because you get a box, and a stylist picks the pieces for you.
Oh.
And so then you get to choose, and then once you have a kind of a style profile, then you can go on and shop and pick pieces. So I picked my blazers, but only because a stylist sent me my first blazer that I just love so much. I bought them all.
So did you actually have a consulting session with a stylist?
So no, it's all like on the app. Just fill out the questions, and then the stylists, you don't have to meet with them. It's all like kind of generally like a surprise.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So I guess do they do that for men too?
They
or
do.
Is it,
There's men and children.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will have to check that out then.
Yeah,
That sounds
I love
really
it.
neat.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Erin, thank you so much for coming on today. Where can people find more about you? Where can people find more out about Bear Financial Solutions?
Yep. Yeah, you can find us on Instagram. We are at Bear Financial Solutions, and you can find us on our website, bearfinancialsolutions.com. That is some places you can find us, but we really hang out on Instagram. That's where we interact with our audience. So we'd love to chat with you there.
All righty. Well, Erin, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All righty.
Thanks for checking out this episode of We Built This Brand. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe on your player of choice. You can also keep up with the podcast at our website at webuiltthisbrand.com. If you like this episode, please give the podcast a 5-star review and make sure to tell all your friends so we can continue to build this brand.